stuck at home in quarantine. 5 o'clock, why not have a drink with me?
Happy weekend, happy Saturday. Hope you all are having a good weekend so far. Special shout out to my great spectacular friend whose birthday is today, who I just saw enter, Emily. Happy birthday. She's my very old friend whose birthday is today, getting older, solidly in her late 30s now. Good to see you. Today, I hope she's been having a good day. I've been having a pretty good day. Started the day with some coffee on the patio, which is always nice. Have been having a little bit of trouble with the crossword puzzle today, still not done with it. Saturday's, of course, the hardest puzzle of the week, and I can still usually topple it without, with some time, but this is especially challenging. So I have my work cut out for me for the evening. And then I decided, you know what, before it gets too hot, I should mow the lawn. So I mowed the lawn, put on a podcast, my favorite thing to do, very nice. And I did not beat the heat. I was halfway done, I was sweating and it was super hot, and I had to finish, and I did, and I'm glad that I did. But I was definitely hot and sweaty when I finished with that, and then just kind of mismanaged my nutrition and hydration for the day. So I did a bike ride at noon, and then was kind of lagging towards the end of that. I was a little bit dehydrated. I should have had a better breakfast or more thoughtful about that. So I don't know. But otherwise a good day. Helen cut some of her beautiful, we're back. Helen got some beautiful peonies that she cut and brought inside. So that smells really nice. Peonies get so crazy when they start. They're just like a super tight ball when they start growing, and then they get kind of bigger and bigger, and then they burst open, and then they hit this last phase of the I'm crazy and everywhere. So that's about where they are now, but very nice, beautiful peonies from the garden, Helen's favorite flower, and so she's enjoying that. And then what else? Yeah, I just wanted to veg out a little bit in the afternoon, and so I threw on HBO. I got pulled in by A Star Is Born, which I don't know. It's one of those movies that whenever I find on cable, I just enjoy watching. I don't know if you have seen it or like it. It's the most. I know there's a few different versions. It's the new one with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, and I totally tuned in on the best part towards the beginning when they had just met, and then she sings, and then he pulls her up on stage, and she sings for the first time unexpectedly. And anyway, I like Lady Gaga. Really enjoyed that movie, and so got sucked into that for a good the last hour and 15 minutes or so of that, and that was mostly my day. I will say actually about I see Megan commented that hers got destroyed by rain the other night, the peonies. That's the other thing, is once they're open when it rains, they're so fragile and just get all over the place. So you need to get a little bit lucky with the timing of that. And indeed, this evening we got I was watching the movie and I looked outside and it was just it got super dark and gray out. I'm like, whoa, is it gonna rain? And so I pulled out my iPhone app and to see when it was supposed to start raining, and it was rain 5 minutes, and it gives you how intense the rain is, and it was the most intense rain, and there were thunderstorm warnings. So I'm I better get the cushions in, put the umbrella down, get the dogs inside. So I rushed out and did all of that, and did it just in time because we got some really, really hard rain. It didn't last for super long, maybe 45 minutes or so, though. It rained with really loud thunder and lightning. Bruce freaked out as usual, but that passed, and I think it's done for the evening. There's maybe a slight drizzle 5 minutes or so ago when I checked it out outside, but looking pretty good overall with regards to the rain. So as Negroni Week continues, today is day 6 of Negroni Week, and I'm excited to make a Negroni variation or Negroni version that I first had in Chicago about a year ago. I was in Chicago for some work stuff, and I had read about this place that supposedly had really good fried chicken. It's a lunch place. And so I go in, and they have a big patio section, and then they have a bar section, or it's a bar counter, like a lunch counter, restaurant counter, diner, that sort of vibe to it. And so I sit at the bar, and I look behind the bar, the menu, and I look behind the bar, and I see this big slushie machine. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then I see how the slushie machine is labeled, and it's labeled Negroni Slushies. And I'm like, what? This is like everything that I want right now. And so I had the like most amazing fried chicken sandwich and this incredible Negroni slushie. And I thought of this and I Googled it, and then I also realized that in my book on the Negroni, there is a recipe that is credited to this place in Chicago, Parsons Chicken and Fish. So this is the Parsons Negroni Slushie. And they modified it, allegedly, to make it without a slushie machine. I don't have a slushie machine yet. Don't know if Helen will allow me to get one so that we can just always have Negroni slushies on tap. But in the meantime, I'm going to try out this recipe. I'm always a little like nervous or wary about making slushies, especially with alcohol in it, because it's so hard to get the right consistency and use the right amount of ice, and you want it to be sort of real, real like icy and like a Slurpee or like a slushie. And so we'll see about that. The recipe is basically starts with just your normal Negroni recipe of 2 ounces each of gin, Campari, sweet vermouth. Actually, interestingly, they don't use Campari there. They use Luxardo bitter aperitif, which I don't know if you've seen it out in the liquor store, but it's a Campari-like aperitif. So it is a bitter liqueur that is meant to be drunk before dinner. It's, I think, red, just like Campari, but the Luxardo Select Bitter Aperitif from our friends over at Luxardo. But I'm going to be using Campari because I don't have any of that, and I think that'll be a fine substitution. So you have those 3 standard Negroni ingredients, and then you add some juices. And they say to add grapefruit and orange juice. And it is about equal parts of these, like the boozes and the juices. And the juices, like I said, are grapefruit and orange. Just because of what I had, it's supposed to be like half and half, 2.5 ounces each of grapefruit juice and orange juice. I had like half a grapefruit that got me like just under 2 ounces, so mine is like a little bit more on the orange side, but I don't think that's the end of the world. And then we'll serve it with some orange slices and see where we go. So I pulled out my Vitamix, and we are ready to go with our ingredients here. So the first thing I'm just going to do is measure out 2 ounces each of my gin, Campari, and sweet vermouth. And this is supposedly a recipe for 2 to 3 servings. And so the booze amounts is like I'm not worried about that, It's essentially like a very small Negroni for each of the 2 servings if you split it in half. So this isn't going to be super boozy, but I think that might also help with making sure that the alcohol doesn't just bring the melting temperature of the ice too low. Also very dangerously low on Campari. I think this is my backup bottle. I haven't been or ordered any new liquor in a while, and so this is concerning. So I'm going to add this to my liquor store list. Negroni Week has really put a dent in my Campari stocks. And I'm going to use my homemade sweet vermouth. Oh, I just love the smell of that every time I open it up. Wonderful. And now I'm going to add in my juices. I think should be pre-measured right. Yeah, 5 ounces of juices. Like I said, this is grapefruit and orange with slightly more orange than grapefruit juice, just based on what I had. And then I already mentioned I get nervous about getting the amount of ice right. The other thing that makes me really nervous is the recipe doesn't give the ice measurements in weight, gives it in volume. And so it says like 1.5 cups of, let's see, it says, 1.5 cups crushed ice. And I don't have any crushed ice. I have normal ice cubes, and so I don't really know what to do about that. It's gonna get crushed in here, I think, right? I don't wanna pre-crush it. Maybe I should have pre-crushed it before I add the other stuff. That's too late. So I'm gonna grab, this is gonna be an experiment for all of us. I'm gonna grab here our ice, And so what I have here is just a 2-cup measuring cup, which is mostly full with ice cubes. And I don't think I'm going to pre-crush it. I think I'm just going to let the Vitamix take care of that. And we'll see. So, pour in our ice. There's a couple sticking on the bottom there. And this like feels, if I'm going to make 2 or 3 drinks, that feels like the right amount of ice without it. Otherwise, I'm just going to get all this volume and it's going to be way more than 2 or 3 drinks. So that is part of the issue too. And the directions say to basically blend on high speed for, let's see, what does it say? Until the desired consistency. What do I desire? I desire a like smooth, slushy consistency. So we'll see about that. All right, and then it says maybe to like stop and stir it midway through. So anyway, let's take a look at what we've got. Put this on high, I guess, and get going. The other thing that I mentioned when I made the Ultima Palabras, which was a blended drink a few weeks ago, is that the other tricky part about these blended drinks is that the blending adds heat to the environment, to the ecosystem, and so that also makes it hard to get the right. So let's see what we've got. So see, this is what I was worried about, which is it's pretty evenly blended, but it's just like very, very liquidy. Very liquidy. So I don't know, I guess I can try adding more ice and see if that gets it more of a slushy. The other thing is I'm like running low on ice. So I've got these huge ice cubes, which is like the last thing that I want. But maybe I'll just smash a couple more of these and see if I can just get it a little bit more slushy consistency. I'm gonna grab my mallet from back over here. Because I don't want to put these huge ice cubes right in the blender. I feel like that is just not going to get me where I want to go. So I'm just going to give this like one whack. Yeah. I'll add that in. And that's as far as I'm going to go. So if this doesn't get me to where I want to be, I'm just going to drink them and they'll be a little bit watery, but I'm sure still delicious. So let's give it another whirl. So now I'm gonna do some pouring, and there's definitely some more of like a slushy consistency there, and it's holding some shape as I pour it out. There was one of those big ice cubes that I think got stuck in that one, but whoa. So we will. Alrighty, I think we did something here, my friends. I think we did something. Let me fish out this huge chunk of ice that didn't quite make it. And finish this guy. Lovely. You can see around the edges of the glass starting to melt a little bit, but I think that's just kind of how it goes. It's all in there. Beautiful. All right, so I'm going to garnish with a nice big old half orange wheel. I didn't quite plan ahead enough. It would have been a nice touch to actually freeze these. Just take the half wheel, stick them in the freezer for a half hour beforehand. And that could have been nice. And then, but I didn't do that. And then we've got our straws. And so here we have, celebrating Saturday of Negroni Week with the Negroni Slushie. Let's give it a taste. Cheers. Very good, cool, refreshing. The Campari really comes through more than anything else. I think you get a little bit of the grapefruit tartness and flavors. It's this is a really nice drink. It really brings together everything that you would expect. All the flavors that are predominant with, you get the bitterness from the Campari, but then you also just get those dominant fruit flavors that you usually get from Campari and sweet vermouth in terms of their orange and grapefruit, which is obviously the juices that we used. So that was a well-selected recipe, and really nice, cool, refreshing drink on a hot and humid day. Hopefully this rain helps with some of the humidity, although I will say our new AC unit on the first floor of our house has been just really effective and working really well at both bringing the temperature down and helping with the humidity. And next week, throughout the week, it's supposed to be back in the 80s, but I've seen that tomorrow it's gonna just like drop 20 degrees and be a high of like 65 tomorrow. So I will enjoy that reprieve, maybe get out for a little bit more yard work when it's less hot and intense tomorrow. But otherwise, hope everybody is doing well, staying safe, and having a great weekend in June.
It's 5 o'clock. Why not have a drink with me?
Once again, happy birthday, Emily, and hope everybody has a great night. Bye-bye.